The economic impact of the coronavirus, COVID-19, has seen stock markets crash, the aviation industry come to a complete standstill, and lives changed on a scale not seen since World War II. Yet another industry which is suffering, and one that has a greater impact on our lives than we care to imagine, has also come to a stop. And its bearing is wider than just on a field. Of course, I'm talking about sport. I'm Leila Faromazi, and this is The Outbreak. On this episode, we'll be taking a look at just how important sport is around the world and how the virus has completely changed the field of play for both the sports players and everyone else involved in the industry. So stay right where you are, and let's first take a look at the professional sports teams and study the adverse effects of COVID-19 on the world's biggest pastime.
The sporting world is without doubt one of the most lucrative markets in the world, with teams and players earning billions of dollars between them per year, be it through TV broadcasting rights, sponsorship deals, player image rights, and of course money taken on the gates on match day. The arrival of the COVID-19 outbreak initially was not taken into account by the sporting world, as matches continued in packed stadiums and saw teams go on to please the faithful followers of sports from around the world and in a variety of games. However, things soon changed when the infection rate and death toll started to rise, and suddenly games went from being played in front of tens of thousands to behind closed doors, to being postponed indefinitely within a week or two. Players themselves began to contract the virus, as well as officials from around the world, resulting in the sad death and illness of some of the sporting world's best-known sports stars. The reaction from the fans to the postponements and cancellations was of course mixed, yet still held an element of understanding.
Well, I don't think it's fair at all because fans are missing now and people are not sure what to do as well. So yeah, we're just missing the fun of football. So yeah. And
definitely they will recover at some point. So it's not any. I don't think it's obviously a big issue for football players or everything else. But regarding this, what's happened today, and obviously in the world and everything else, I think it's a good call, mate. Yeah.
With football being arguably the world's most popular sport, the extent of the virus is obvious, with huge uncertainty for clubs who are still actively involved in some competitions, the winning of which not only means so much to the club and the fans, but also to the bank accounts of the investors of the teams, who pay billions to maintain the legacies of the clubs. It seemed to be all too much for manager of Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, when asked why he didn't think football should continue amidst the COVID-19 outbreak.
So playing football is just a game. We are not the society. We are part of the society, and we should all be worried in the same time. And that's exactly the thing I don't like. That you sit here and ask me this question, but fly from Madrid to here. So stay there. They close schools and universities, but why don't? And you are obviously concerned. That's the question. But you think now football is worth it to travel or whatever. So that's the situation. That's our problem, our common problem, and we cannot sort it with football.
So we've seen how the big teams all play an important part in our lives, from watching a game with friends or family to supporting your favorite team during an important game. The notion of sport is truly something that brings us all together. Joining me here in the studio today is David Barkin, a professor of economics at Metropolitan Autonomous University from Mexico City. Thanks for being on the show today. Why is sport such an important part of life for many? And how has the virus disrupted the sporting economy so much?
I think that the major problem here is that it has eliminated the possibility of live audience participation in sporting events. And unfortunately for the sporting world, their income depends upon the money that's spent by live audiences at the events themselves.
Thanks for that, David Barkin. See you again later in the show.
One of the world's largest sporting events, and as popular as the football's World Cup, is the Olympic Games, which this year was due to be held in Tokyo, Japan. However, Following much debate as to whether the 4 yearly games should go ahead, the decision was made to postpone the Olympics. Initially, the decision was made to delay the Olympics for a few months, yet when international teams started pulling out, the choice became not one of an international federation, but of a necessity to make the right decision for mankind.
We are all humankind. We are in a very dark tunnel at this moment in time, and we do not know how long this tunnel will be. But we are confident that with these Olympic Games at these new dates, then we can be a light at the end of this dark tunnel.
The impact of the decision is more than just stopping the games going ahead. The Japanese have invested some $12 billion into setting up the Olympics, spending money on infrastructure, stadiums, logistics, and of course transport. Furthermore, there's a direct impact on the small businesses such as the hotels and restaurants in Tokyo that were relying on the footfall in order to make ends meet in their businesses. On top of all this is the impact that it will have on the teams and athletes participating in the Olympics. Many have trained to reach their optimum peak this year, yet with the postponement, many will either lose their places in various teams or simply no longer be eligible or fit enough in 1 year's time. With many other sporting events around the globe also being cancelled or postponed, from Formula 1 to football and from tennis at Wimbledon to UFC matches, the future remains very uncertain for sporting events from the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Joining me back in the studio is David Barkin. Thanks for coming back to us, Professor. Tell me, what does the future hold for sporting events? And do you think we'll be seeing a significant change in the way we play and watch sports?
I think particularly tragic that this is not leading at this particular time to a rethinking of the way in which the sports industry is relating to the public and is relating to its responsibilities for promoting a responsible participation by the rank and file members of society throughout many of the countries in trying to promote sports activities and participation in the ground level.
David Barkin from Mexico City, thanks for your thoughts. Let's switch over to what's being discussed on social media concerning the cancellation of events around the sporting world and how they've impacted people's everyday lives. First up is Rahul Warrior, who mentions that Madrid was lucky to lose out on the Olympic Games due to the huge crisis in Spain at the moment. Was this the silver lining Rahul speaks of? Next up, the amazing work by Formula 1 engineers in conjunction with medics at London's UCL has been praised highly on Twitter, with Jay Beecher, for example, showing his appreciation in this tweet. Finally, we've got a tweet from our own Economic Divide show here on Press TV, where we see the generosity of some sports stars, with Roger Federer and Conor McGregor each donating €1 million to fight the virus. Billionaires take note. Let's now take a look at the secondary effects of the sporting world and what the future may hold for those involved in and around the world of sport.
So what does the future hold for the sporting events and the people involved in sports around the world? Clearly the whole game has now changed due to the impact of the COVID-19 virus, and unlike its previous global pandemic predecessors, is unlikely to be forgotten in a hurry, as the way in which we now behave as humans in society is likely to change for a long time to come. Sporting venues are going to be visited in a very different manner and will likely see hygiene standards raised across grounds and stadiums across the world. The sports personalities themselves, many of whom have contributed millions of dollars, euros, francs and more to fighting the disease, with the likes of Roger Federer, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi all giving huge sums of money, will themselves become a voice in the future, appealing to their fans to take the right steps to do the right thing and stay at home. The UFC champion Conor McGregor, himself a donator of €1 million to fighting corona in Ireland, took to YouTube to voice his concerns and use his huge social media presence to send the message home to his millions of fans across the world.
I want to say that while we are all currently debating a full lockdown, I feel that we must. Any time spent debating this is needless time from the clock. I know a good tough fight when I see one, and we have one on our hands now. I want to call upon my people, the great people of Ireland. This fight needs us all. We are all in the red corner together, awaiting the bell. So let's gather together and ring the bell ourselves, including the people of the rest of the world. True lockdown must begin, and it must begin now.
Could the future then see other global sports stars acting as influencers in times of crisis instead of the politicians? What now remains to be seen is what will happen next. With many sporting events cancelled, how long will it take for the upcoming events to be decided on? 2020 has already been tipped upside down just 4 months into the year. Therefore, how far forward will the impact be? The next largest sporting event will be held in 2022 in Qatar, namely the FIFA World Cup. However, with the majority of infrastructure and work being put into place now, are those working on such projects now in self-isolation in order to protect themselves and each other from the virus? And if so, will this in itself not cause a delay to the construction of multiple facilities being put into place in Qatar? What we could see in the future is a change in the way that professional sports stars play. At least that's in the short term, with some suggesting that sport should be turned into esports, meaning games can be played at a safe distance and still watched by millions, only this time instead of stadiums, watching it online. What is sure is that the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, much like an octopus, has managed to place its sticky tentacles into many places, affecting the whole world in too many ways to mention.
Like many industries around the world, the sporting arenas of the globe have for now fallen silent. And those who are making millions from the games we all love have been sent a reality check that as humans, we are as vulnerable as ever. With so many people on the peripheries of the sporting world who rely on crowds and paying customers to make their weekly wages selling merchandise and snacks, the virus has impacted their lives harder than the sporting superstars who are used to earning millions. I've been Leila Fadomarzi. Join me again soon for another edition of The Outbreak. And on behalf of myself and the whole team here, look after yourselves and each other.